We're members of Delta Force, and we're here to take you home.
The Delta Force, starring Chuck Norris and Lee Marvin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another 80s movie commentary, and we're doing the best G.I. Joe live-action movie never made. It's The Delta Force, starring Chuck Norris and Lee Marvin. Someone should have went ding when I said Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris counter is at 2. Oh, it's at 3 now. Joined, as always, by Eric. How you doing?
Hello. How are you doing? Great. Thank you.
Excellent. Happy birthday once again. Just celebrated a birthday. Did you get any Chuck Norris merch?
I didn't get any Chuck Norris merch, but I got a whole bunch of American treats. So I guess in spirit, the American Kana, American flag, we're here.
Hey, I'm going to kick this off with the first Chuck Norris fact. The Isle of Man is named after Chuck Norris.
It was renamed from the Isle of Fist.
Also joining on this commentary is Scuba Pete. Good to have you back too, Pete.
Hello. How is everyone?
Doing good. Is your nickname now going to be Scuba the Defiant Pete?
Yes. Yes, it will be.
Congratulations on your latest haul. That is awesome.
I can't get it.
And we're joined for the first time on a commentary here, Gaz. Warm welcome,
Hello.
Gaz. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing excellent. So we got the movie queued up. Depending on what format you're watching it on, DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, beta, whatever, streaming. The best sync point I can find here is just as the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer logo is fading in. It just faded in. It's still kind of dark. And then the lion is about to roar in about a couple seconds. So sync up with us there. I'll give you a countdown. 3, 2, 1, play. Press play on play. Everybody ready? 3, 2, 1, play. Roar. That another Chuck Norris fact? That's Chuck's kick. That's the sound of Chuck's kick.
He's figured it might have been Chuck's pet.
Right. I saw a great one the other day. Who is going to win between Godzilla and King Kong? Neither. Chuck doesn't let his pets fight. What a way to start the movie. Boom.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The music. I mean, there are a lot of parallels to Megaforce. It's weird to watch these so close back to back.
Tons.
I got to get this out of the way and to say I think this is probably one of the best action movie scores of all time. Easily.
Yeah. Yes. That score's epic. Yes, I agree.
Now, here's a tidbit for you. All those aircraft, those are Israeli aircraft.
Really?
Yes, this film was shot in Israel, and the U.S. Air Force has a policy of not allowing their aircraft to be used, much like Iron Eagle. But those are Israeli C-130s.
This movie employs a phrase I like to use, flashback mustache. So I got this idea when I was watching Battlestar Galactica, that one season where they jumped ahead a year and everyone had mustaches to signify the passage of time. This is a flashback from the rest of the movie, and we know that because Chuck, instead of the full beard, has a mustache. It's a flashback mustache. It's a technique they used a lot in the 80s. There was a great comment on the Patreon board about this movie. Like, you can easily kind of plug in G.I. Joe code names for some of these guys. And Chuck Norris is Snake Eyes. I never thought about it, but if you could go back and retroactively grab legends from the past in movies, I would go with Chuck Norris as Snake Eyes. He's like that silent but deadly type of guy. Even before the disfigurement, that's what I imagined Snake Eyes to be. Like he just didn't talk a lot anyway before losing his ability to speak.
I could totally see that. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So who would his best friend here be? Chuckles?
It's always Chuckles.
So one of the things I think is interesting about this is that so this entire movie is actually based on the TWA flight 847 that was the one that was hijacked by I think like the Libyan hijackers.
Yeah.
But this is a callback to a failed I think it was a real failed Delta Force mission where they had to pull out of this attack on this base or something like that. But this movie actually draws like a lot of parallels to real life events. It's really interesting.
And there was an episode of Special Missions, one of the early ones, if not the first one, that also referenced that the stewardess getting executed on the plane. So that's why I always say this is Larry Hama's Special Missions. If that was ever a live action movie, it would be this. Robert Forster, you're gonna feel sorry for him at the end of the movie. But it was ZZ Funk who brought up that comparison of Chuck and Snake Eyes on the Patreon board.
Nice.
Shout out to ZZ. And it's perfect because I always thought, well, I don't know, Michael Dudakov or you know, who would it be? American Ninja, but it's Chuck. And here's the man. Here's Hawk.
Oh yeah.
It's just almost too much machismo having Lee Marvin and Chuck Norris in the same movie. He was on vacation.
5 years in Vietnam at the Hanoi Hilton.
Yeah, I love how they work together. You never know what happens behind the scenes. You know, if it was a case of George Peppard and Mr. T or what, but they seem to work really well on screen. Marvin and Norris. There's no competition for screen time. Alan Silvestri. That explains why the score is so amazing.
So here's a fun fact about this score is that for a long time ABC used it in the intro to the Indy 500 races. And so you'd hear the same score and so a lot of people associate with Indy 500 the score.
Mark is adding some comments on the live chat, the Patreon exclusive live chat. He says that this is his second favorite Chuck Norris movie of all time. What's your first? And Flashback Mustache. He thinks that's funny. It's interesting. It's a serious subject matter. It's not a G.I. Joe cartoon story in the sense that people are dying, but the score is so fun. Like it doesn't forget it's a piece of entertainment about serious things inspired by like a horrific event, but it's uplifting and fun instead of dark and heavy and serious and everybody's Batman. Only Lee Marvin is Batman in this. Sorry, guess?
No, sorry. I was gonna say I have to say that these guys don't look inconspicuous at all. The guy with the sunglasses, the other guy, the unibrow. I mean, they don't look too inconspicuous compared to everybody else that's there.
When I love the significant nodding.
Yeah.
I love one of the things I really like about this movie that if you watch it, it just moves. It's kind of one of those movies where there's no scene that feels extraneous. You know, every scene's relevant. Everything's happening. I think it's one of those reasons it's remembered as being why it's remembered as being so good.
Oh, Cabbage Patch.
It was just there on the shelf too. Oh, there's a bunch there.
You'd think the terrorists would be hitting this place to get that Cabbage Patch doll.
And now I have to say, I don't ever recall seeing a Cabbage Patch doll at a duty-free shop. That's a new one.
Do you think she's Jewish?
Probably.
It's pretty obvious.
But does she mention living in New York or Florida? I think that would be the key, right?
I always remember, I believe it's this movie where she tries to hide her ring. Because, it's... The terrorists aren't fans of her folks.
I can't remember in this film if they say they're Libyans or Libyans, were the big evil people in the 80s. But I can't remember if it was Libyans or Palestinians. It makes sense if they were Palestinians.
So for anyone watching along, if you want to just make sure you're synced up with us, we are just at 8 minutes and 15 seconds, 16, 17, 18. He's still sweaty.
I was just going to say, he comes out dripping in sweat. Think anything's going on there?
Nothing suspicious here. Yeah, this guy too,
right?
I'm sure Cobra Commander would watch this and go, they just don't make terrorists like they used to.
It also feels like two different movies, though, when you're watching it. You have the whole plane bit, and then you have the Delta Force when they start showing Delta Force. And then at the end, George Kennedy.
Yeah, Naked Gun. Is he supposed to?
I think he's supposed to be on the flight with the other hijackers. There's supposed to be 3.
But they're not letting him on.
Yeah, and he got there late and they're not letting him on. I think this is one of those moments I think anybody might be like, I wonder why he decides he needs to be on that flight so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check this one out.
It's such a shame they never, they did do a sequel to this, but not a proper sequel. I don't remember Delta Force 2 at all. And the reviews that I skimmed through seem to all say it's a sequel in name only. Lee Marvin had already passed away at that point, I believe. He was already sick in this movie, apparently. So his health was in decline, but it's too bad this wasn't a series. I think it could have, they really could have banged out a bunch of Larry Hama special missions adaptions and did little one-off movies.
Well, that's the thing. This was a Golden Globus film, which we all know is every kind of semi-cheeseball 80s action film was Golden Globus. But I don't think they were really known for doing sequels, right? Didn't they just kind of churn out movie after movie after movie? And I think they were like American Ninja, right? Where wasn't that a Golden Globus? And there were a few of those, but I don't remember them doing many sequels, to be honest.
There was 4 American Ninjas.
Well, there were 4. Okay.
Yeah, there was 4 of them. And Ninja 3, The Domination was one of theirs. I don't remember the 2 before it, though.
Yeah.
There's nothing that'll smash the villains over as villains as filling up the plane with a priest and some nuns.
Yeah.
What if Leslie Nielsen played the priest instead?
That'd be a whole new movie.
And how about Lloyd Bridges as the pilot? That's a crossover that never happened. Airplane and Delta Force crossover.
Imagine Lloyd Bridges coming out. Pick the wrong day to quit Stiff and Glue.
The only one who noticed any suspicion is that kid. If you notice that, looked at him. That's the second time he looked at him.
The kid's always the smartest person in the room. Again with the sweating. It's great that they include that too, because it's not just we're pure evil. Having them sweat and be nervous humanizes them a little bit.
Yeah. Now, I still, even today watching this movie, it blows me away thinking this is Robert Forster.
Is it?
Yeah.
Holy smokes, I didn't recognize him. Oh my God, It is. I had no idea. If you hadn't mentioned that, the whole movie, I would have been like, where's Robert Forster?
I swear that guy's just a chameleon in this, at least in this role. It just doesn't even look like him. He's so different than anything you've ever seen him in.
I know him best for Breaking Bad. Fans of Breaking Bad will remember him as the cleaner, the guy who gives you a new identity. And I'd never think that's.
Oh,
Now, Eric, would you say this movie already has more conflict than Megaforce? The entire film had.
I would think so. Yeah, it is much less thumb kissing and thumbs up. So.
How awesome would it have been if Chuck Norris had a headband in this movie, though?
Well, he did have headbands in his other movies, right?
Missing in Action, Braddock, yeah. Braddock
Lone
wore
Wolf
headband.
McQuaid, I think he had one there too.
Oh, right. Yeah, he did. That's another great one. So many great Chuck Norris movies. We're definitely going to need to do some more Chuck on here. And Karate Commandos. Is that
She
actor
was in
looks familiar?
Yeah, he's I'd have to IMDb that.
It's not the guy from Airwolf, is it?
No, that's no. That's I can't
play
drawing a
Dom.
blank. Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah. Is it Ernest Borgnine?
No, that's not him.
Looks like him though.
It does look quite a bit like him, yeah.
I think he's done a lot of TV shows.
I think I'm looking at IMDb. It's Martin Balsam.
Huh.
Yeah,
Like a doppelganger.
he's been in a ton of TV. That's what it is.
It's Ernest Borgnine's doppelganger.
Yeah.
Oh no!
That's classic.
Oh no!
Oops.
He's got to hold it the whole time now. Oh, you got to put the pin back in.
Yeah, he's got to put the pin back in before he releases the little handle.
That's something that's never really touched on in most films, that you can actually shut down a grenade.
Mm-hmm.
I love that the pilots don't cower. They'll do what he wants, but they're not like sniveling for their lives. They already get this guy seeming to be inept, dropping the pin, getting hit in the face with a door.
I do like that expression he had on his face, though. It's almost yeah.
Oh, I love this guy, this pilot. This has got to be one of the sweatiest movies ever made. Like already 10 minutes, 15 minutes into it, and I think it's sweatier than Cool Hand Luke at this point.
So there's a story I read about that, actually, that apparently, this whole thing was shot in Israel, and apparently it was the set of the plane was so hot that some of the actors were actually complaining about it. So I think that some of this perspiration you're seeing is probably totally real.
Totally feeds into the movie, though.
I bet you we never see a drop of sweat from Chuck Norris.
If Chuck did sweat, what would he sweat? Beer?
Acid? Looks like we lost Scuba Pete. Hopefully he can join us again. He ran out when he saw the pin drop.
It's just Robert Vaughn.
Oh yeah, I've totally forgot he was in this movie.
Oh yeah, from the A-Team, right?
Yeah, this must be in between gigs when.
He's got to be like the quintessential sort of like army officer guy. I mean, how often did he play this role in the 80s and 70s, right?
Right.
The terrorists took out Pete's internet, so hopefully he'll be back. Robert Vaughn, I believe that was him on the last season of the A-Team.
Mm-hmm.
It was, yeah.
And Lee Marvin is in rough shape. I just figured he was like a rundown,
I didn't know he was sick in this.
That's what I read on the IMDb, the trivia. Like the idea was to have him in Delta Force 2, but because he was already sick in this one, chances were low he was going to make it to the sequel.
I don't think Delta Force 2 should have been Delta Force 2. I think Invasion USA should have been Delta Force 2. That would have made more sense.
I love that voice on Lee Marvin. Peter Weller hears that voice and goes, "Wow, that's a very deep voice."
This guy looks completely unhinged even from the first moment he shows up on screen.
Mm-hmm. He could have handed it back to him. He's such a jerk. So inconsiderate.
I think that was for opening the door like that and hitting him in the face.
I think so. Yeah, this was such an interesting little detail. Put the jewelry, and he's sort of like Jewish things, but it's still like the mark is still on the finger from the sun, right? So
yeah.
And I like that the hostages aren't comedic relief. That's a problem with some of these hostage taking movies where the hostages become comedic relief and played for jokes. Like, these are real people already, established real people. You worried about them, and they're taking the situation seriously.
I think it helps that they had those little moments where they're actually kind of giving them a character and giving you something to care about.
Yeah,
not just generic people.
This is especially tense. Post 9/11. Oh, there's the man.
Yeah.
Back to work.
Damn, I got to go to work.
He looks so cool. That is Snake Eyes right there. Time to save the world.
Love it.
Is it me or does he always seem to be wearing like a blue shirt?
I think so.
He does.
I think so.
Blue shirt and blue jeans, baby.
Right?
Denim sleeveless jacket, no shirt. Invasion USA. Here's a Chuck Norris fact for you. Speaking of grenades, Chuck Norris threw a grenade and it killed 50 people. Then it exploded.
One of my favorites is Chuck Norris is the only man that can slam a revolving door.
When Chuck enters, sorry.
Go ahead. No.
When Chuck
enters, he's got enough beer. Sorry.
Sorry. When Chuck enters a room, he doesn't turn the lights on. He turns the dark off. All right, that's enough for now. This could go on forever.
we can do the whole movie. Another note that something that's really interesting about this, the ATW logo is basically TWA with the A obviously in a different order, but that was based on the real event of this was TWA Airlines, and even the logo is pretty much the same if you look at it.
That's true. Yeah. I was just gonna say, I know why everybody was sweating. It's not because the set was hot. It's because they're all working with Chuck Norris.
Just his mere presence. They haven't even seen him yet, and they're already sweating.
Do you guys know that Chuck Norris can do a wheelie on a unicycle? Chuck can kill 2 stones with 1 bird. I remember seeing an interview with Chuck on some like one of those morning shows or something, and or a night show, and they had him read Chuck Norris facts. I think what makes it especially funny is he's not at all like that. Like when he was reading them, he was quietly chuckling and he was very humbled, and he was like, "Oh, that's cute." Like he doesn't really get them, and he doesn't get the whole Chuck Norris legend.
Mm-hmm. He's just too Chuck Norris to admit it. He thinks it's funny.
Chuck Norris makes onions cry. I love that they use a Hercules. Again, it just feels so Special Missions. that they're driving flying around in one. Is that an Ostriker?
Yeah,
It looks
basically.
like it.
Well, we got to start giving code names to these guys. This is Hawk.
Fully.
Like an older Hawk.
That'd be
Chuck.
Roadblock.
Is he
Or a stalker, maybe?
Stalker? Yeah, he's got a mustache. Stalker. Who
Stalker.
would Chuck be? Like, would Chuck be a pre-accident Snake Eyes or a Duke?
I think he could be either, but I think if you're looking at him now, I'd be going Duke. He's very Duke leader guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the field commander.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
Nothing gets past this guy.
Huh. Uh-oh.
There's a Jewish person on this plane. This changes everything. I didn't understand that when I was a kid. Like, what's the big deal? I didn't understand racial hatred. I just thought these guys were jerks. Goji-chan's got a Chuck Norris fact for us. Hey, Goji. He says, Chuck Norris's tears can cure cancer. Unfortunately, Chuck never cries. That's a shame.
This is an interesting one too with the German girl, and she has the crisis that she can't separate the Israelis and the Jewish people.
Yeah.
Supposedly she was based on a real character too that had to do something similar on that TWA flight 847.
We're 25 minutes into this, and there's surprisingly very little Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
For a Chuck Norris movie.
You're right. That guy could be mistaken for Ernest Borgnine from Airwolf because he's wearing that red hat.
Yeah, I thought that again. Like every time I see him, it's Dom from Airwolf, or Cabby from Escape from New York. Man, that guy is sweaty. Look at that big sweat stain on the back. Usually they slick things up for movies. It's just a sign of their scumbaggery that they're going to take time out of their evil plot to take over this plane to hunt down the Jewish person. Like, why?
Yeah.
Oh, he's so evil.
Oh,
Auschwitz. Yeah, that's also a. That's heavy, for a Chuck Norris action or heavy stuff. For a movie that moves so briskly, when it slams the brakes on there, man, it's important.
Mm-hmm.
He still has his passport. The guy with the red hat. You see that? They're right behind there.
Oh, continuity error.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Holding it up. Today they would CGI that out. He'd be holding up a napkin or something. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Soldiers. That's not good. This is just the height of ignorance right here. It really gets to the root of racism. It's just it's madness. It's pure madness.
Well, and it's not really surprising too, because, like during the 80s when these kind of films were made, nationalism was kind of at a peak, and it was like, the other guy, the bad guy, the Libyans or the Palestinians or whatever were always painted as like the most evil of the evil. And, unfortunately I did things like this, so it was a little bit on the justified side, but it's you can see that kind of attitude and kind of perpetuated in these kind of movies as well.
Yeah. I think that's something that needs to be attacked with today's social justice and cancel culture. mean, there's other things like toxic masculinity and whatnot that get attacked, but racism that needs to be obliterated. Any little sniff of it, this type of stuff. Any time someone uses the phrase "your people did this to my people," like that, that's a warning sign right there of a very ignorant person. Man, sweaty.
I would be interested to hear. I've never really read anything about it or seen anything about it, but I wonder what kind of stuff these flight attendants and pilots and stuff train for, because they must have to train for these kind of situations and all that sort of stuff. And I wonder what it is they actually go through and do to prepare for this kind of thing.
That would be kind of interesting to find out.
Did you guys ever hear about the time Chuck Norris built a snowman out of rain? I think it's in this movie.
Built a snowman out of sand, maybe.
I feel so bad for her. This one was like, as a kid watching this movie, it can be a good action movie, but then there's really heavy parts, and she was the saddest part about this movie.
Yeah, she sells that. She's actually pretty darn good at that.
Flight attendants really get taken for granted. They're the ones that people get their peanuts and their drinks from, and they complain to them when they're uncomfortable or something's going on. But I mean, in a situation like that, this is the role they play. They have to be kind of the mediator.
Yeah, this is pretty heavy for this film studio. Truly, though. I mean, truthfully.
It's really too bad these divers just got tied up and they're, totally ineffective here. Like, if, I believe there was a movie where this happened and one of the guys on the plane was it Kurt Russell? Executive decision?
No, they boarded the plane. He wasn't on the plane. He boarded the plane.
Okay.
That's the one with Steven Seagal, right? And he dies like during the transfer.
Right. Yeah.
From one plane to the other. Oh,
I was thinking Passenger 57. Is
That's
Wesley
it, yeah.
Snipes like he's like a John McClane on a plane, right? Like you picked the wrong plane.
Yeah. That was a pretty fun movie.
It's interesting to see guys with some sort of military experience. Well, I guess they might not. They are military. They're Navy, but completely ineffectual. Like they're not saving the day.
Well,
is this the same truck from Lone Wolf McQuade?
It's just
is it a Bronco? My dad had a truck recently.
I think he drove a Dodge in Lone Wolf McQuade.
Oh, okay.
I think.
So the pilot thing.
He's wearing a Canadian tuxedo. It's awesome.
I'd never heard that one.
Yeah,
denim jacket.
Jacket and jeans is a Canadian tuxedo. I got one myself for special occasions. But you're saying about the pilot?
Oh well, the Navy guys. That was actually another one of the bits they'd taken from that real story. Of course, I don't want to jump too far ahead in what's going to happen, but there were actually at least or I think there might have been 3, just like in the film, and they were a part of the actual 847 flight.
Wow. That moment right there. Machismo overload.
Yeah.
Like that right there was the live action G.I. Joe team that we've never gotten. All those guys just standing around marveling at their own awesomeness. Like the missing pieces here.
Self-congratulatory. Butt patting and
For as big as the persona that Chuck Norris has become, he really is one of the team in this movie. Mm-hmm. He's not like a Seagal or a Stallone or Schwarzenegger where he comes in, like especially Schwarzenegger in Predator, where he is the centerpiece of that team. But Chuck just he really feels like part of the team in this one. One of the boys. Chuck Norris puts the laughter in manslaughter. Chuck Norris was once run over by a tank. He refused to pay for it. Guessing you ruined it. I love that they stand up. Like, none of these people are cowering. That's that Captain America thing. You need to plant your feet and say you move. And there's not much they can do, but at least they're not sniveling and crying. It's real morality going on here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. You know, a lot of the horrors that have happened throughout time is because what's the old saying? Evil is just standing there and doing nothing. That's just as evil. Standing by and letting it happen. It's such an amazing story that, you know, the 9/11 attacks, hearing the story of the one plane where they rose up and they overcame the terrorists. I often wonder in shootings, you know, you don't really need a Navy SEAL where the shootings are taking place to jump in there, but I just wonder with the number of people getting shot at greatly outnumbering the shooter. So a lot of time it's a single shooter. If people would just swarm them, and I know it's a reflex thing to run.
Yeah, that's a tough conundrum there because, you know, it's the first one that goes for him is the one that's probably going to get it. So
yeah, there's going to be casualties for sure, but you just think if the reflex, and that's why the military guys can save the day in those situations, because their reflex is duck, but also move forward, disarm, neutralize. Reflexes to neutralize. There's going to be casualties, but you would think there'd be a lot less casualties if everyone swarmed the shooter. Mm-hmm. But that's a sacrifice that it's hard to ask people to do.
Well, I think ultimately it's, you know, and you kind of see this here. It's, you know, most people have a self-preservation instinct that takes over first, you know, so heading toward danger, that takes somebody that's got that kind of training and conditioning. And, you know, I don't think that's very common.
Gojitron says that actor that looks like Borgnine, Martin Balsam, he played the original Rudy Wells in the pilot for the $6 Million Man.
Huh. Interesting.
They're just getting sweatier. Everyone is drenched.
Oh.
He's got the Cabbage Patch Kid now. This is worth money. Hold on to that. He's a guy that's Polish.
Yeah, that's not going to help you, buddy.
Yeah.
That doesn't get you in their good graces. I don't see why being a Christian would get him a pass here.
I don't think so. Yeah.
You know, he has come the closest to cowering in this movie. Oh,
there you go.
Amazing. That's conviction. That's living what you preach.
Yeah.
Man, it's nice to see the you know, the men of the cloth really take a beating in a lot of movies. It's really nice to see a guy who just does what they say. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, there's George Kennedy for you. He brings that.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they take him up on it. Like there's a little bit of mutual respect there, even though the respect from one direction is coming from a complete scumbag. Makes him more of a realistic character.
Oh yeah, here's this guy's moment with the pregnant lady.
Humanizing him a little bit. He's had the one with the little girl, I guess, and
Yep.
You always got to have one guy who's just almost got a heart. Yeah, this is weird. What's going on here? Like the villains are scumbags, but there's a little humanity still in there.
I would have loved to have seen a line in there when he says, "Can I get you anything?" She's, "Well, some peanuts and a beverage would be pretty good."
An in-flight movie. Do you have Lone Wolf McQuade? Do you have Megaforce?
He's got a Mad Magazine book.
This movie came out in 1986, a couple years after Megaforce. Gotta wonder how different the movie would have been if they sent in Megaforce instead of the Delta Force.
Well, there have been a lot more flying motorcycles, I can tell you that.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
The endings are actually kind of similar with the motorcycle. I was almost expecting, Chuck to take off.
Chuck could make that thing fly even if it doesn't have wings.
Did you guys know that Bigfoot claims he saw Chuck Norris? Not letting him land.
This is, I think, up here is one of the really rough moments of this film.
Yeah. It is certainly an emotional roller coaster where it's got scumbaggery and then moments of compassion and then utter evil. Stan Lee in the background there.
First appearance as the Watcher.
Stan. Is this based on a comic? I guess. G.I. Joe. Oh no. Oh no. I hate the beating this poor guy took this whole movie. Awful. Yeah, this is why I say special missions, G.I. Joe. There's Stan Lee. Yeah, because special missions doesn't pull its punches like the main Marvel Joe comic did sometimes.
Mm-hmm. There's decisiveness for you.
Yeah. Now let them land.
That does make you wonder why the minister of what is the minister of defense, was it? This guy said he was, why he was on hand. Did he just kind of show up, or was he there?
Yeah, it's kind of odd, right?
That's real.
But I assume they would. I would assume they would be aware of the plane already being hijacked and that they were in the vicinity.
Now back to Chuck, the man who can rub two pieces of fire together to make wood.
I love the computer graphics here. This is just state of the art Commodore 64.
Monochrome green. The main exhaust is right below the main port. A small one-man fighter.
Hey, Lee Marvin can give Morgan Freeman a run for his money with those eyebrows.
Yeah.
Or Beau Bridges.
Yeah.
Sorry, I talked through that whole mission. I think the gist of it was we're sending in Chuck.
You guys are just a distraction.
You guys are here to cheer. You can clap.
I don't know. It does kind of make you want to watch Dirty Dozen again, though.
I'm curious what Chuck's name is in this movie. I'm just looking it up on IMDb here. Scott.
Isn't it?
Scott.
That's what he's listed as. And Lee Marvin is listed as Nick.
That's all you need to know.
Because honestly, who calls them by the character names? It's Lee Marvin and Chuck Norris. It's like calling Roddy Piper Nada in They Live. Who cares what his name is?
Piper.
Yeah. Oh, Mark just filled me in here. Boba Hicks, Major Scott McCoy. So
there you go.
Full name, the real McCoy, and he's a major. Great rank. You know why Robert Forster looks so different after this movie? Chuck Norris.
the beating he took.
Yeah, he never looked the same.
Now, I find myself wondering there's a very obvious sort of acknowledgement of the anti-Israeli sentiment, and I wonder if that has something to do with the Golan Globus connection here. It does make you wonder if there was a bit of an agenda in some of this, some of what was going on there.
Yeah, because there were two producers from Israel, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
I believe, right?
It's interesting. Like, it's not a complete smear campaign against these guys. Like, what's really interesting is those little moments of humanity. That if you were really racist yourself and making a movie, then you would not try to humanize them at all. You would just say they're all awful. So try to make it a little more of a realistic thing.
Yeah,
because normal people have a conscience. Like, people who don't have a conscience are psychopaths. One of these guys is a psychopath for sure, but I have a feeling not all of them are, and some of them are just followers.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting when you really look at it objectively like that, as far as these guys being, considering themselves soldiers. Is, they always say that the soldier's job isn't to make policy, it's to enforce it. So these guys are kind of falling in line with that.
Right.
So this is surprising. I didn't recall this any of the previous times I've seen this movie. 46 minutes, 48 seconds into it, we've seen nothing of the Delta Force. They've done nothing other than that quick little thing, the flashback mustache scene at the beginning.
40 still over the ocean.
47 minutes in, no retaliation yet.
That's why earlier I said it feels like two different movies. Like, you have this whole hijacking part of the movie, which completely feels different from like towards the end of the movie when all the action starts.
It's like a hijacked drama.
Yeah.
And then the revenge.
I don't know. The one of the best scenes in with the bag over the head thing is in Rogue One, where they put the bag over the blind guy. So he says, "Are you kidding me? I'm blind."
Kind of there's a feeling of despair and hopelessness once you're moved off the plane. There's still hope while you're on the plane that someone will come and rescue.
Yep.
Once they get you off and move you into a cell, it's kind of a finality to it.
I love the depth of this guy too. He ends up being the the informant guy. Opens up the two-way radio and
He's even singing in the Orthodox style. Robert Vaughn's thinking, we need to send in the A-team. Work off that debt.
Didn't the A-team deal with the hijacking? I can't remember if they did. In one of their episodes they did, didn't they?
it would surprise me if they didn't. There was, I mean, hijacking was such a big bad guy thing in the 80s. Everybody was afraid of hijacking.
I would say it's a safe bet. I don't recall the specific episode, but it's a safe bet. I do remember them going into like towns that got run over by scumbags, which is kind of the same thing, and freeing the townspeople. And then, they always come in saying this is going to cost you. And then when the check bounces, they say, that's fine. That one's on us. I like that they go in as mercenaries and then they leave empty handed and they go, I guess that's fine.
It's all right.
Yeah, they're mercenaries with a heart of gold. That True Heroes Hercules, for anyone that's still got a Toys R Us, I think they're at Targets too, or Walmart. That is a definite Joe compatible vehicle. The big gray Hercules that company makes. Got one myself, and it looks amazing on a USS flag. It's the Joe ship that they never made.
That's one of those things I was always kind of surprised that back in the 80s they didn't do more of. They had the corpse and all those things, but they didn't really have a third party making not very many Joe scale kind of vehicles, at least nothing that worked well with Joes, in the same kind of theme.
Yeah. Is this guy Breaker or Mainframe?
I'd go with
Breaker's a good one. Yeah, I like the
Lee's just got to get his foot up onto something.
He's got the video phone.
All these guys behind, unnamed Delta Force members. It's a long extras cast sheet. And he's got to get his foot up too. I love it. It's a total Riker move. Got to put my foot on something.
The Captain Morgan.
Yeah, that's it.
I think we got to kind of recast Chuck as Snake Eyes pre-accident. He's got the Uzi, the black suit.
Oh, yeah. True. Yeah, and that's what and the black gloves. That's what ZZ was saying on Patreon, that pre-accident Snake Eyes is Chuck Norris, and especially now with the Uzi.
Yeah,
I think, because he's not saying much anyway, and he's kind of blonde.
Gojitron just said that Liam Neeson is a extra in this film somewhere.
Oh, really? He's in all these 80s movies. He's snuck into Krull and Excalibur. Liam Neeson is the Hercules.
Yeah.
Get in the back, everyone.
He's got to be one of the extra Delta Force guys, so I'm going to keep my eye out for him.
Yeah, he's just back there somewhere. Or it might be a passenger.
Maybe.
Well, no, he's not a passenger because those terrorists would be dead by now if he was one of the passengers.
Good point.
It's the part of the movie where we just start watching and not saying anything because it's starting to get really interesting.
Well, this is perfect too. Like what ends up happening here, it's actually very plausible.
Well, they have no idea that those guys are on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to was it Beachhead that snuck on to the plane in the special missions issue, the first one, I think. Oh, there's the guy with a heart again. Another odd moment. Like recognizing her bravery.
Mutual, no, I don't know if it's mutual respect moment, but it's
Well,
definitely
yeah.
a respect moment.
It's definitely one way.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, that's a pretty worthless compliment right there. But it's better than a smack in the head with a gun. Better than being pistol whipped.
You can only imagine what she's thinking when he tells her that.
That's what those moments are. What makes it different from every other, armed forces roll in and squash the enemy. Just the villains. You can't imagine Cobra Commander saying that to anybody. You are brave.
Yeah. Infidel. This is a great one. They're all ramping up to go here. He's got his Uzi.
He's always got an Uzi. Didn't he have a pair of Uzis in Invasion USA?
He had 2 Mac 11s, I think it was.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Same deal.
Similar, yeah.
Little handheld submachine gun. Oh, the final insult. We're going to rob you as we release you. It's so interesting. They're such scumbags, and I really want to see them pay. But the Delta Force, they're not like Megaforce with the cheering and the fist bumping. They're just professionals going in, and they're going to calmly annihilate these guys. Nothing personal. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
You sit down.
Oh, scumbag move.
Gross.
Licking it to get it out.
I'm surprised he let her go. Another little sliver of compassion. Mark's got the intel on the weapon. Akimbo Mac 11s in Invasion USA.
Yeah.
Akimbo.
Huh.
Man, it's so methodical. I'm just so conditioned, especially by G.I. Joe, like roll in there, boys. But they're doing it like they would in real life. Stealth. Ah, McCoy. Make the call. It's weird to me when characters like that call each other by their first name, because especially in military, it's always last name or rank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, listen here, Sergeant, or listen here, McCoy. Nick. It's like the soldiers in First Blood. Clinton.
Feels a little casual, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Walt, grab the bazooka.
All right, 60 seconds until go time.
That guy is so stalker.
This part, that thing, that was the whole radios off the air thing. Why would they do that? I can't think of any reason they'd all turn the radios off.
Because could the bad guys listen along?
I don't know.
Mark or Goji might have some intel on that.
Yeah.
If because back in the day, they're just on like free radio stations that any radio could pick up.
But wouldn't they have heard them like getting ready?
Yeah,
And they say, "Hey, we're gonna go off air now." Okay. Oh, they're getting ready to come in.
Good point. Well, you can know everything we're doing up until this point, but the rest is a surprise.
Yeah. Oh. See, here you go. Here's where the radio would have been nice.
Oh
Yeah.
no. Wow, Marvin is hauling butt there.
He's like, we gotta go.
That's got to be the fastest he had moved in 15 years.
Wait a second.
Yeah, that radio's off thing is purely for this,
Yeah.
miscommunication.
So it's a little like how in films nowadays, there's so many films and so many plots where if the character had their cell phone, the movie basically wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So there's always those scenes nowadays where like they make a point of like showing you how like their cell phone doesn't have any reception or their phone's not working or something like that.
Yeah. That's more exciting, like rolling in a Jeep, trying to get their attention than texting.
Yeah.
Sending a WhatsApp. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Something's gotta blow up.
Oof. All right, so Delta Force's rescue mission is not going very smoothly.
Yeah, it didn't work so well.
We're an hour in and they've done nothing. Did Megaforce do anything an hour into the movie?
I think they blew up some balloons.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. They drove around.
No.
Oh
An
no!
hour in, I think about an hour in, they were already attacking Duke's forces, weren't they?
Oh no!
Yeah. So this part right here, the killing of this guy, is that's right out of the Flight 847. This is one of the things that happened.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And in that special
That's
missions,
just nasty.
Yeah.
Ugh.
In the special missions comic, I think it's the stewardess that got executed, similar
Mhm.
fashion. Yeah. That crosses a line.
Now they must pay.
Sit. Chuck's on a mission.
That's a line crossing right there. Any sliver of goodwill from any moments of compassion out the window.
Yeah.
These guys need to be annihilated now. And it's not like they lost. It was just what did happen? What did just happen? I mean, it's not like they got outsmarted or anything, but
Well, I mean, if they had gone into that plane, it would have been a bloodbath.
yeah. Now, even though Delta Force hasn't done anything yet, it's still been an awesome movie. Like filmed well, edited well, really, really engaging.
It really does, because a lot of times those old Golden Globus films, I mean, they were really, they were definitively B movies, you know. And I remember I actually saw this movie in the theater when it came out. A group of us went and saw it with my friend's dad, and I mean, it was, you know, it was quality, man. This is a great movie. There was nothing cheap about this when it came out.
Yeah, I think they were really like just going above and beyond with this movie, honestly, compared to everything else that they put out.
There it is, McCoy. There he is. This is his last name.
Major McCoy. I want a figure of that. Major McCoy figure.
Which is the figure that everyone calls the Chuck Norris figure? There's one of like that was the fourth year Joe's that looked almost just like Chuck Norris. Yeah, Outback. Thank you. Yeah. Probably make that happen. You just use the head and the
head swap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pop them on a Night Force Falcon or something.
There you go. Well, wait, though. Why would he think they've spread them all over the place? Because wasn't there the intelligence guy that's watching?
Right.
Yeah.
Exposition.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep expecting Lee Marvin to break out into "Gonna paint your wagon, gonna paint it red."
Keep expecting that Chuck Norris to break out of the coffin with his Mac 11s.
Oh yeah. I believe later in the movie, Chuck hits that guy so hard that his blood bleeds. Chuck can rip a page out of Facebook.
That's awesome. Just so you know, he's a scumbag. Just punches each one of them.
Is that how you tell who the commander is? He doesn't have a headband on? All of them have headbands except for him.
That's true.
That's the rank symbol.
I hate Barry Bostwick. No headband. Informant.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't do movies like this anymore.
What I'd be curious is, I don't know what Beirut's like nowadays. I mean, you know, but I'd be kind of curious how close this actually looks. I mean, they filmed this entire movie in Israel, and so obviously a lot of it's location and everything. And I don't know how they got dress the buildings or what they decided to do, but I'd be interested to kind of compare it to how Beirut looks today. I mean, it's, you know, I'm sure there must be some degree of recovery, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is kind of this American idea of what all these countries in the Middle East and you know, Baltic areas look like, and
yeah, it's always like this.
Yeah, it's always dusty, sandy, you know,
no trees.
Yeah,
just trash and sand-ridden roads. kind of makes me think of that movie Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen and Michael Biehn.
Oh yeah. The Sheen Bean connection. Is this the headline? Yeah. Wow, that's quite the picture for front page news.
It's pretty cold. Pretty cold. I love though when they, and anybody who hasn't watched this movie, I'm assuming if you're watching a commentary, you either have or currently, but how they set this guy up is just all these little moments where you just hate his guts that much more. And the conclusion of the film was just that much more satisfying.
Yeah.
Who do you think got it worse, Forrester in this movie or Under Siege, Tommy Lee Jones?
Oh, I think Forrester.
Tommy Lee got stabbed in the face and then pushed through a radar screen, right? Is that what happened to him?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. I guess it was quicker.
Well, for that matter, it's like over the top villain deaths. Like Simpsons makes a really big joke out of that with, I think it was Mendoza, where it falls out the window, then then into the fuel tanker and all that sort of stuff. I mean, thoroughly over the top deaths in action movies. I'm trying to think of who I think is like the best.
I think it's that one gang member of in RoboCop that gets like doused with like the acid or something like
the
that.
The melty face man.
Yeah, and then he runs out and he gets run over.
Yeah, he explodes. It's disgusting. Clarence Boddicker gets his butt whipped pretty good by RoboCop. He doesn't get killed, but in that one scene, RoboCop just keeps throwing him through windows. I work for OCP, Dick Jones.
I always think one of the most satisfying is True Lies. And everyone seems to always forget about that movie somehow. But the one where he sends the terrorists, he's in the Harrier, and he's hooked around the missile, and he sends them through that building into the other helicopter.
It's Duke and Chuckles, or Snake Eyes and Chuckles.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like press agents.
Yeah, I think the only thing that could make them look more American is if they were chewing gum.
They're all out of bubble gum, I think. I just want to say Chuckles has got to be one of the best code names for any Joe. It's legendary. Right up there with Fumbles.
Fumbles is great.
There's always Fumbles. Guess it could be codenamed Scoop while they're in this disguise. The G.I. Joe reporter.
look at the belt buckle on the other guy here.
Oh yeah, he's from Texas.
Big gold, like I think that's an eagle.
Yeah, he's some sort of wrestling champion with that big gold belt. Western States Heritage Champion or something.
It is very very much so a very Texan belt buckle, that's for sure.
Chuck is very Terminator-like when he's scanning with binocs. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need him, obviously.
Yeah.
The binocular views, I always think it's kind of funny, especially in the TV shows, where they have the camera look as if it's the pair of binoculars, and they get like right in on the action that they're like looking on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like infinite lenses or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now I think this is one of the first big action sequences of the film here.
1 hour, 12 minutes in.
And what's funny is it really doesn't feel like a boring movie. Like I don't remember watching this movie the first time thinking like, okay, when's there going to be some action? I remember, it's pretty darn good the whole time.
it's a great slow burn, and we had that tease a couple minutes back at the 1 hour mark, I think, where the miscommunication,
Mhm.
where it's just almost, and luckily they don't wait too long until they get a second crack at it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Interesting that they're wearing traditional American green camo.
Yeah.
I believe it's American camo.
Yeah, it's like forest. I think it's like forest camo, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Got to make sure that's in view. Readying the Uzi.
Don't mind us. Just two reporters sitting here in a van with an Uzi. Nothing to see here.
It's a camera. It's the newest Canon. Get it?
Uh-oh. Here's where we start.
Oh no.
A fall that would very likely be pretty far from fatal. There we go. Now, here we go. The music and everything.
I've got to get the soundtrack.
Oh, it's great. This is good workout music.
It's so uplifting.
Yeah.
He's kicking the glass out, of course, the karate champion. I wonder if Chuck ever thought to himself while he was hanging out the side of a van shooting an Uzi at a oncoming Jeep, this is not where I thought my karate championship would take me in life.
Well, one of the things they're in a van in this movie, and it's interesting to me that how many movies there have been where like the terrorists are using an old Volkswagen van with the sliding window. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they call it the terrorist van. Back to the Future, right?
Yeah, that's how it is. It's very convenient, though. I mean, it lends itself to some action sort of stuff with them hanging out the door and
not the watermelons.
Yeah.
Oh, down the stairs.
Yeah.
Here we go.
This is great.
Kind of hoping for an explosion and see that Jeep go end over end.
Yeah.
Here's the funny Chuck Norris fact for you. Funny for some people, I guess. It might rile some other people up. But Chuck Norris went to a feminist rally and came back with his shirt ironed and holding a sandwich.
Amazing how they're not aiming for the driver.
Oh, there we go.
They're just trying to get there you go. Yeah.
And explosion.
Yes.
Didn't have to wait too long for that one.
Nice, finally. And they're on the run. Like, the funny thing is they're on the run.
Yeah.
They're still not attacking. But they're doing some damage.
That orange truck.
Oh, here we go.
It's like a Karate Kid piece of music. Expecting Ralph Macchio to run out and defeat someone in a tournament.
Well, it's always that convention, right? When you're seeing this in these movies where there's stuff like the watermelons and the truck with all the water bottles. I love it. It's just strategically there. It's like that scene in what was it? Wayne's World, was it? Where the guys are just like going back and forth and they go, "What's your job?" Well, we just take this glass back and forth all day long.
This is a weird one. Chuck Norris can speak French in Russian. They sure do stand around and look cool a lot. They are very similar to Megaforce in that respect. Only they're not wearing spandex.
Too cool for spandex. The black and the sunglasses.
Oh, geez. Is he from Minnesota?
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Is that a Canadian flag on his lapel? Are they supposed to be Canadian journalists? Holy smokes!
Yeah, they
Chuck
are.
Norris
Yeah.
wearing a Canadian flag pin.
That's right, because they came through passport and they're like, we're Canadian journalists.
That's always the free pass into any hot situation. We're Canadian. Oh, okay. Canadians got no fight in them. They never cause a hassle. I'm gonna have to grab a screen cap of that. Proud moment for fellow Canucks there.
It's probably the only time Chuck Norris hasn't been portrayed as American.
Yeah. Do you know Chuck Norris can cut a knife with butter? Yeah, Gaz, you're absolutely right. It does feel like two different movies.
Yeah. It's almost like one of those like Airport 77 type of movies, and then you're throwing a Chuck Norris action flick.
Mm.
So, just as a statement of something I always observe in movies, I can't stand when I see day for night photography.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just so obvious that it's not nighttime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this, I don't think is too bad because they're so dark, like dark silhouette.
Yeah.
It can be so much worse than that. Like if they were okay, it's you can clearly see the sun reflecting. That's not the moon.
No.
But that's a peeve of mine as well. It can seem especially lazy when everyone is perfectly lit and it's just blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what helps here is the silhouettes.
Mm-hmm.
Definite Megaforce vibe here.
You still got that Canadian flag on.
Yeah. Oh, another thing, guys. I'm Canadian now. I'm going home. Oh yeah, suit up. That's their faction symbol right there.
It's time.
Night landing. Oh, it's too bad we don't have Scuba Pete here for this part.
I know, right?
Give it the intel on. I guess it's pretty simple. He'd just say, "Well, they're going in the water, guys." What do you want to? What do you want to know?
They got the regulators.
I'm liking those blue lights.
Yeah,
it's like low stealth lights,
and it also helps sell the night setting too. Low light. Oh, they're all wearing those knit caps. So
they definitely look like all strikers with those cannons on top.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. Yeah, total Ostriker look.
Was the Ostriker before this movie came out, or was it after?
This is 86, right?
1 year before, yeah. Okay. But this movie would have been in production in 85, so
interesting. It's
got to be pretty much the same time.
So I was wondering if the Joe vehicle was inspired by this film or vice versa.
You know what? The Ostriker hit shelves in 85, so it would have been developed in 84. This movie came out in 86, shot in 85. So the Ostriker would have been first. Now the Ostriker, it's based on something real too, right? Like a military dune buggy. And I'm pretty sure, didn't Megaforce have an Ostriker as well?
Well, they have those one-seater dune buggies. I think they were called destroyers.
And Megaforce was before the Ostriker. Yeah, 82.
Yeah.
It's funny that watching the stuff, and this would be a good one for Scuba Pete as well. But okay, so I scuba dive as well. I've scuba dived for years when I lived in California, and I never ever as any part of our PADI training, which is the course you do to go through, ever saw them say that you had to do that thing where you fall backwards into the water off a raft. It's like to go into the water, they call it the long stride, where you just kind of like sort of like walk into the water with your feet really far apart. And, and I think that's one of those things that's totally Hollywood, because I've never heard anybody doing that ever.
That's almost Barry Bostwick levels of cool right there.
Definitely hamming it up.
And there was a black Ostriker. There was like an Arashikage version of the Ostriker done in black. So you could make yourself a little custom Delta Force.
Is that in the
Not sure
original one, or was that like later on?
That was one of the modern ones. I think it came out for Retaliation. I'm not sure whose head you'd use as Lee Marvin, though. There are too many white-haired Joe figures.
What Lowlight in the G.I. Joe figure, right? Didn't Lowlight look quite a bit like these guys are dressed?
Yep. Yeah, with the black net cap.
Yep.
That'd actually be a really easy custom. Just pop on Outback's head onto Lowlight's body.
Yeah.
Or, well, I guess we're really getting into the toy mechanics, but Outback's head wouldn't fit on Torpedo's body. Different neck joint, right?
Yeah, but there's a second version of wetsuit that's kind of black, right?
Oh, right, yeah. Black with bright yellow.
Yeah.
Bright yellow or bright orange.
Well, he's got a yellow tank, so that would work.
Ah, true. That would work. Might be seeing customs coming soon. All right, radio's off, guys.
Yeah, it's really important we can't communicate to each other.
So Metal Gear Solid. Tactical espionage action.
I do have to wonder if this is something you would see anywhere there. There's going to just be a manhole in the middle of the beach, and
yeah, I was just thinking that there's a lot of sand and there's a manhole.
Yeah, I mean the only pipes I can think of that go into the water from the beach would be sewage.
Mm.
You ever notice this convention in movies where it's always the guys that are sitting smoking get killed?
No.
Smoking,
I know where it's been.
Yeah,
it's been
smoking
quiet
kills.
for a few hours.
It's like their subliminal way of telling people smoking is bad for your health. It's so unusual to see an infiltration team stop and look at a map because now people are they're wired in and getting intel and have heads up display, and like there's never a wasted moment.
They're all wearing their Google Glass.
Yeah. Did you hear about the time that Death had a near Chuck Norris experience?
That's a good one. Well, for stealth guys, they sure are making a heck of a lot of noise.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, how authentic is this? Because these are actors pretending to be stealthy army guys, and I gotta imagine the real McCoy, pardon the pun, being a lot smoother and quieter.
There was a Navy SEAL movie. I think it was Navy SEALs. And I'm not thinking of that movie, Navy SEALs. It came out, I would say, about 10 years ago. But it was supposed to be fairly realistic to these special ops guys where they go in and take down a drug lord or something like that. And I want to say that a football player was in that movie, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, talking about like Tears of the Sun with Bruce Willis.
Is that the one? It was one of those where yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that one out. But it was very similar. I remember watching it. Thinking it was very similar to Delta Force.
I remember the one by Catherine Bigelow called Zero Dark 30, which was, I think really realistic.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Oh yeah, maybe you're talking about the one where supposedly, I'm not sure if how accurate this is, but there was an ex-Navy SEAL or Special Forces guy that went off and made a movie with like his buddies, and he got like a budget behind it. And the acting was terrible, but because there's a really cool scene where they're doing like an extra when they're trying to get out, and they have like this boat team just roll in with like a Gatling gun and just take out the enemy.
Something
it's a pretty
like
cool
that.
Scene.
I'm looking now, and I think it was Act of Valor. I think that was
that's the movie I'm thinking of. Yeah, now that you say it.
We just got our first thumbs up, I believe.
Did we?
Yeah. Delta Megaforce style thumbs up. No thumb kiss. They're just the Delta Force. They're not the Megaforce.
I just found a whole bunch of mimes of Ace Hunter, and every time somebody says something to me nice, I just hit him back with one of those.
Oh, this is classic.
Oh,
underneath that guy was ready for him. He was ready for him, and Chuck still killed him.
He's like, this is it.
Did he say sleep tight? I missed that part.
I
think he said sleep tight.
I think so.
There we go.
I love in these movies, like nobody aims their gun. Like classic 80s action movies. They just don't aim and they just shoot from the hip.
It's all hip shooting, yeah.
That thing is like now striker with the cannon on the roof. Yeah, they're just willy-nilly.
So then that would be the bike would be the Silver Mirage, right? Because that had rockets on it, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, the bike has rockets in this movie.
Yeah.
Bring in the Rolling Thunder, boys. Get those nukes ready. We're gonna wipe this country off the face of the earth.
Get that in the mobile command center. Rolling in the back.
Man. Can you imagine? All right, we're gonna get these hostages. We're gonna get these hostages to safety in outer space. Bring in the Defiant.
Yeah. Or Defiant Orbital Strike Complex. It's a new toy. coming out summer '87.
They just run for the beach and an aircraft carrier is there. They just climb on top of it. The flag.
Thousands just sneaking up on this guy. Here he goes.
Thousands, and I just Chuck. This is where the legend of Chuck Norris part of it came from. There's thousands of them. Ooh.
Just kick him.
Just hey.
Oh, I think Salim's being handled right now.
So he just like kicked his head off. Is that what happened there?
I think so.
Oh, he's gonna shoot that. He's gonna shoot the radio. That'll teach him.
Yeah, but it's just Chuck Norris, so the bullet should jump out of the receiver
Yeah.
and kill that guy.
Burns the whole magazine on a radio. There you go.
Oh,
What?
didn't even aim.
He missed that guy with the grenade.
They just jumped in front of it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's so
RPG going on.
satisfying to finally see these guys come in and start getting some revenge. Whoa.
So the rest of the Delta Force is on hostage duty while Chuck is just out eliminating everybody.
Yeah, one-man army.
Commandeers the RPG. There you go.
I saw a shot, a still from this movie of both Lee and Chuck with bazookas. I'm not sure if it actually appears in the movie.
Here we go. Now he's just got to be shooting while he
One-handed. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's Chuck.
One-handed zip line. Bobby. Hey, Nick. Bobby's with them. The first name.
It's a very casual. Yeah, very casual.
Casual. Who's guarding the rear? Billy. Okay. Are you going to Jimmy's this weekend for football? Yeah, I was going to try.
Yeah, going to Jimmy's. Sound like a bunch of beer buddies. I still think that Alan Silvestri score here just sells this whole scene, makes it feel that much more urgent.
That theme could have powered a cartoon. This could have been an animated series. 80's animated series, the Delta Force, and just imagine an animated intro. It could have, instead of Leonard's The Core, it could have been Leonard's Delta Force.
Yeah. What are they shooting at? Darn posters. I don't like these.
They've been waiting an hour and 35 minutes. They got to shoot something. Oh, no. That's a terrible headline.
I love how the comm has like a actual telephone headset like that.
Yeah. The Colonel. It's got to be the oldest colonel in the world.
Yeah. I'd love a scene where you just turn to the camera and say, I should be retired, darn it.
I should be a 4-star general at this point. Busted down to sergeant. It is really cool, though, to have a white-haired or gray-haired colonel. A-Team and that book series I like, Sobs, also have white-haired colonels.
That guy's a werewolf.
Wow. This guy's a little low light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little gray area.
So there's another convention of Hollywood of terrorist movies is terrorists are in Mercedes.
All right, Frank, let's go.
Jimmy, you're up.
You got it, Ralph. I'd like to introduce you to the Delta Force. This is Steve and Jim and Todd, Chad, Hank,
Casual group here.
and the Colonel, Nick. We got the Major right here, Scott. Yeah, so the Outstriker has to be based on a real military vehicle. It can't be the other way around.
No, yeah.
Because I don't imagine them making these vehicles like, oh, guys, we got to make this G.I. Joe vehicle. It looks so cool. Butch. Why do I get the feeling we won't be seeing Butch for much longer? Sometimes you get a spidey sense about imminent deaths, especially and McBain makes fun of that on The Simpsons too. You know, with the whole partner is retiring and I'm gonna be retired and moving away and got my dream retirement spot. Dies 5 minutes later. Mendoza. Oh, there it is.
Kiss of death. Here we go.
The dual bazookas. Oh wow.
Yes.
You guys are like, we're out of here.
Yeah. Well, now all of Beirut knows they're there.
They just left him standing there.
That was awesome. That was great. So I wonder, the still I saw, I wonder if Lee Marvin ran in there and is like, I want to get a shot of me holding the bazooka. Well, we're not firing him, Lee. I just want to be holding it. Oh, wow. It's the part of the movie where Chuck starts pushing buttons and things start blowing up.
Yeah.
Right
there you go.
There we go.
Fact. That's not the sun behind him.
See that scene needed a thumb kiss right there.
Yeah.
That's the moon behind him, not the sun. Oh, this part.
This is just so perfect.
This is the closest the movie gets to Megaforce with the rockets on the bike. At least it doesn't fly.
And the snap zoom there. It's so perfect.
It's like a spaghetti western. Chuck comes from the Clint Eastwood school of acting. Don't just do something, stand there.
Those little Estes rockets do a heck of a lot of damage there.
Oh.
Now, I couldn't have been the only kid that ever taped the paper towel tubes to the front of his bike and effort to emulate this movie, right? Tell me you guys did that.
Yes,
I didn't, but I'll be doing that with my bike now. That's a great idea. Stuntman.
Yeah, very clearly not Chuck Norris.
Is that Barry Bostwick? Ace Hunter? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Bye-bye. One-man army. You guys are a little late. Everyone's dead. It's Scott. Come on,
Yeah.
Jimmy. Come on.
Let's leave him.
Oh, finally they get to do something. It's a little thing, but I'm glad those guys actually got to help in some way.
Yeah. Wasn't all Chuck.
Whoa.
This is where somebody said, Raiders of the Lost Ark had this great scene with the truck. We got to do that.
Right. The truck is actually stopped. That's Chuck moving it Flintstone style. Uh-oh. It's going pretty slow.
Yeah, barely moving.
It seems like it was going faster in Raiders. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go.
Mm.
Yes. Amazing. Oh, beautiful.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Butch bought it. He won't see you when he sees you. I think that was Butch who just bought it.
Yeah.
They kind of telegraph it. We'll have a barbecue this weekend. See you, Scott.
Man, after this mission, I'm retiring and building the house with my lady.
She got twins on the way. And we just got a puppy. And I've got an awesome life insurance plan that says if I could just make it another 2 weeks. I like these. This one's got rockets on it again.
Off screen.
Yeah.
It's like, don't worry, Butch is in a coma.
Love it. She's just hanging out.
That's what Goji Chan just put in there.
Okay. That's awesome, Goji. Yeah, the final, there'll be a dubbed line at the end of the movie. Great news, guys. Butch is out of his coma.
Yeah.
Perfectly laid plot is coming apart at the seams. Still sweaty. Oh.
He thought it was over.
Oh, and he disappears.
What's he on? Street Hawk? He's got like silent mode on that thing?
Just disappeared.
Oh.
It's funny to see these early Chuck movies and just see where this whole legend came from. Like, whoa.
Through the window.
It is like almost a supernatural thing disappearing like that. Oh,
I
man.
love it. Somebody's going to come home and be like, what the heck happened to my house?
This is where the movie turns into a medical dissection show.
Yeah. It's just so comically one-sided.
It's an autopsy before the body is dead. Oh, man. Yeah, he doesn't get a blow in, does he?
He's trying, though.
This is what the wrestling fans would call a squash match. And Robert Forster is playing the jobber. He's Dale Wolf right here. Oh man.
Not the table.
Oh man. Yeah, he does get it worse than Tommy Lee.
Yeah, for sure.
He's getting it as bad as both Roddy Piper and Keith David got it in their alley fight and They Live. I think this might go on as long too. It's not really technically a fight since he's not getting any offense in. It's a beatdown. Oh my god.
Ouch.
Oh. Don't die yet. Is he in a coma?
You're not dying until I can find more ways to disgrace you.
He's going to get the smelling salts. Wake this guy up. What is he doing?
This is pretty clever, though, because you can see it's like they're waiting, so he's not unarmed. It's not like he's, doing this to an unarmed foe.
Oh.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, not even a cool guy walking away from the explosion. Chuck is just there.
Chuck looks right into the explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good call. Instead of killing an unarmed man, regardless of how dastardly he is, yeah, he kills him 1 second before the guy tries to shoot him. So technically self-defense after he just brutalized him. I don't know. I still think he got off light. I think Chuck went easy on him. Hey, Don. Hey, Mike. Yeah, Ned. They should have a name tag.
This guy in the middle, he looks familiar.
Is that Michael Dudakov?
No, it kind of looks like that guy who played the guy who ran to jail in the second G.I. Joe movie. I can't think of his name. I'm sure it's not, but it kind of looks like him.
Talking about. Yeah. What is his name? He was in that show.
He was the hitman in that Mel Gibson Santa Claus movie. Fat Man.
Oh, Walton Goggins?
I think that's his name.
Walton Goggins. Don't know if it's him. He'd be a kid at this time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It looks like him, though. I thought I saw him earlier.
So, Goji mentions the exhaust rockets. I don't think that was a rocket. I think that was just Chuck with flatulence. Chuck just had he had Mexican for dinner.
Just perfect.
That's it.
Hey, here's a little known Chuck fact, not a joke fact, but he is Spanish, or at least part Spanish. His real name is Carlos.
Really?
Yeah, it's not Charles, it's Carlos.
Really?
Yeah. Full name is Carlos Ray Norris.
Huh, did not know that.
I didn't either.
I should clarify. I'm assuming he's Spanish or part Spanish with a name like Carlos.
Now, see, what's interesting about this whole scene to me is that the whole attack that they show when they rescue everybody, I would say was a little on the haphazard side with a lot of hip shooting and I would say a distinct lack of precision, where when they took over this little air base here, it actually looked pretty strategic and pretty purposeful.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, very methodical.
Yeah.
Very.
Not like no Silvestri theme blaring.
Mm-hmm.
Just business. Poor Lee. He's he's already sweating buckets. Come on, Jim.
Every time I see one of those guys with. Go ahead. Sorry.
There's got to be one guy with a really long, awkward to say name, like Jim and Pete and Steve and Ezekiel. Anyone seen Ezekiel?
Is Abraham around?
Where's Carmine? Where's Jedediah? I don't know. I think he's with Todd. There's the theme again. Any update on Butch? Still in his coma? Is he the only Delta Force casualty?
Gojatron just put up some interesting trivia. Chuck has Irish and Cherokee roots. Carlos was the name of his father's minister.
Oh, cool.
Interesting.
Thanks for the intel, Goji. Irish and Cherokee.
Now that he said that, I think I remember hearing that somewhere, that he's got part Cherokee roots. Makes you wonder, because a lot of times people say that and they've got their mother's sister's brother's cousin's former roommates, sort of, and then they say,
what does that make them? Absolutely nothing.
Were they carrying one of the cannons from the Ostriker into the plane? Isn't that when they were climbing the back ladder there?
That's pretty hardcore if they're doing that.
Like they disassembled the Ostrikers and took it with them?
Lest it fall into enemy hands.
They fold up.
That's a great part. Missiles. Here we go.
Yeah. Perfect.
Gotta jump that. Yeah. It's just there. No problem.
Does he have unlimited rockets?
Yeah. It's Chuck Norris.
Magazine fed rockets. Yeah.
Those aren't rockets. Those are Chuck hurling insults. I kind of wonder if Chuck is going to knit a sweater with all that cotton in that field.
Yeah.
You're going to come in with an ugly Christmas sweater that's actually beautiful. Chuck can make a beautiful Christmas sweater.
That pilot's call sign would have been Iceman, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess we didn't give code names to the pilots. We'll call them Ace and Slipstream for the other guys too.
There you go.
Oh.
It's okay. Chuck's here.
It's so great that it ends on a plane too. It feels like come full circle. Is this the part where the bike takes off? Oh, almost.
I don't think wheelie well.
Well, he can do a wheelie on a unicycle, so it's easy on a motorcycle. Is it just me, or is this
major?
Is this very similar to the end of Megaforce? Like, is he
It
going to
is.
make it?
He can't reach the rope that's clearly right there to grab, and this is what I always crack up.
He grabbed it.
Yeah, it's there you go. Just that extra nothing's gonna.
Got to stand on the. Oh my god! But who's going to rescue the bike?
And again, clearly not Chuck Norris in that shot.
Barry Bostwick again stepping in. Transition to stunt work by this point. Stewart, close the door, Stewart. You got it, Phil. I'd love to see a Delta Force line, and that's just the name on the packaging. Instead of a cool code name, it's Phil and Ben. And Scott.
Steve.
Yeah, Steve. Nick. Colonel Nick. Major Scott. Oh, someone wanted to start an applause there, but it's dying on the vine. I don't know if it's an applause situation. Some people have perished. Really?
King of Beers.
Wow. Wow. Where's the cheeseburgers?
On a side note, I'm just gonna throw this in here, and I think I've even mentioned this in another video. If anyone ever has the chance to go to the Anheuser-Busch tour in St. Louis, do it. It will make you a Budweiser fan.
Oh, did he just give the not gonna make it sign?
Yeah, that was the not looking good nod.
Oh, that makes this a bittersweet ending. He's about to slip into a coma.
Yeah.
You got to put that in there. There's a price to be paid, especially like this is not a popcorn. Despite the fun parts, it's not a popcorn fun flick. See you when I see you. There's got to be a price. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Slipped into a coma. It is quite bittersweet. Everyone's singing and celebrating, and now 2 guys have died. 2 Americans. Wow.
That's quite the juxtaposition there.
Yeah.
Saving the guy's life, and in the other room singing with beer.
Heavy. The guy with the name closest to a code name dies. Butch. Is he gonna cry?
That's some range there, right there. For
Chuck doesn't cry.
Yeah. I think that's the closest he gets.
It was established earlier on that Chuck does not cry, even though his tears cure cancer. That's a Gojitron fact. Yeah, it's surprising. Like Chuck was still, I guess he had done quite a few movies at this point, but he wasn't exactly thought of as a great dramatic actor. But I think he showed more range in that quick shot there than Arnold or Stallone. Well, maybe not Stallone, but definitely Arnold throughout the 80s.
This is before Predator, right? 86. Predator came
1
out
year
with-
before. Yeah,
Mhm.
1 year before Predator.
What's always one of those things? I think it was 82 that's known as one of the big movie years, but I seem to remember like 86 was another big one. Like
Huge.
yeah, that was a huge movie year.
I think Platoon came out that year. Maybe
Mhm.
Transformers the movie came out that year.
Yeah.
Wow, Butch wasn't in the movie much, but when one of them goes down, they all feel it. And really turn the movie into a real bittersweet ending.
With all these guys, carted off and hero moments and all this stuff, and then they're quietly and somberly boarding the plane with their fallen comrade.
No pomp and circumstance. They're so sad. They don't have the urge to do the Captain Morgan on the ramp there. Put the foot up on it.
Mm. I'm waiting for Lee Marvin and Chuck Norris to turn around. I think we're gonna get one last knee in there. I know it's coming.
Yeah.
There is.
Simultaneous.
Stepping back up on the plane again. They were on the ramp at first.
Off to the next mission. Hey guys, you want to drop the body off at the morgue before we roll out to the next mission? Good old Butch is starting to, get a little.
I think maybe they get some some recovery time at an Israeli base or something. Just back on the plane and home they go.
Yeah.
Hey guys, great news! Butch is gonna be okay.
Yay!
Yeah, of course.
He's okay. We're stopping through in Tel Aviv and have a short vacation and have some mimosas. We're fine.
Scott, Nick. Where's the rest of Bobby? Anyone with a last name can't be part of the Delta Force.
Yeah.
Ed, that's the Delta Force. Andy. Mustafa and Jafar were, I don't think, Delta Force members. Wow.
That was something.
The Delta Force. That was the movie.
Well, I'll still say it's easy to look back and make fun of this movie, and I hate to say make fun, but kid around and it's fun, and there's all sorts of funny stuff. But I still say this is one of my top 10 favorite action films, easily.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I'm with you on that one.
It was like the stuff with the Delta Force is awesome. The one thing I would have tweaked is just more Delta Force, because it does take an hour for them to actually do something, and then when they do, it's a false start.
Yeah.
But then when they're after an hour in, when they're actually doing their thing, it's all awesome.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be just a one-man show with Chuck Norris, but the Delta Force actually gets to do some other stuff too, which is nice.
No, I think that it's distributed well, and I think that's the key. And it's the fact that it is a good halfway through the movie. There's build up, and then like the entire latter half of the movie is pretty much all action. It's kind of a smart way to structure it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't see movies like that anymore, though, with like two totally different tones, paces, low gear and then high gear.
Not so much, yeah.
To me, it's like the two movies, the what do you call it? The disaster style movie with the terrorists taking over the plane, and then the action movie with Chuck Norris. But something one of you had said earlier was the attack on the Air Force. Well, not the Air Force, but the attack on the plane at the end. The way they handled that, I would have probably changed that whole bit where they attacked the school as to be like that as well. I mean, that's what they would do today.
Mhm.
But that was like the Chuck Norris action sequence there, and then you had like the realistic Delta Force attack. I would say as realistic as could be done in a movie in 1986.
Yeah. For me, it was like that when they have that, I would say the very, very tactical sort of attack on the airport at that end. I almost would have rather preferred that, more of that, to sort of the bravado when they're attacking the school and everything. It feels a lot more random where when they're going through quietly and having little just taking everybody out quietly and definitively, I guess. They looked more skilled. It was an odd choice to kind of make that a all out sort of action sort of thing. It was, I don't know, it's kind of bizarre.
Mm-hmm. And no post-credit scene for this movie. There was no Delta Force cinematic universe. There is a Delta Force sequel, but I don't know if we'll ever be doing that one. It's not remembered very fondly, and it's not really a character that needs to be, I want to see more adventures of Major Scott McCoy. I mean, he's pretty similar in this movie to Braddock in the Missing in Action movies and a lot of his other movies too. So that's one of the nice things about Chuck Norris.
The only thing I really remember about Delta 2 is a lot of Chuck Norris climbing a cliff. That's all I really remember from it.
So I don't know. I'll tell you. So I'm a huge fan. I love Delta Force. I have it on Blu-ray. I've watched it every once in a while. I will say that until we did this commentary and you guys were talking about it, I had no idea there was a Delta Force 2. Never knew.
Really?
Never even heard of that.
It was straight to video.
Yeah. Well, that explains a lot.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a movie for someone else, which is, I'm not sure if I was reading that trivia right, but it was, I think, initially going to be someone else's movie, and everyone passed on it. And when it got to Chuck, the guy from the first movie, he hated the script. So he had that. I think he had the script majorly rewritten, and the big thing with Delta Force 2 that it's remembered for, it had I think it was a helicopter crash, and some stuntmen died in that helicopter crash. Really? So it had that cloud over it that some stuntmen actually died filming it, and then just being straight to video, it was very easy to miss. Because back then there was no, there wouldn't have been a trailer for it playing at the theater, no commercials on TV. It was just basically you had to browse at your video store and, oh, there's a Delta Force 2. I didn't know that.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yep. Before we wrap it up here, let's go through and just talk about what our favorite part of the movie was. You want to kick it off, Eric?
Oh man. Well, there's the obvious. There's the let's humiliate Robert Forrester scene that is always pretty good. No, you know what? I think honestly, I think the airport when they retake when they infiltrate the airport to get them right before they get onto the plane right in the end. I just think it comes off so well, and it's actually pretty well executed. I think that's a fantastic part, and I think some of the character moments in the beginning actually are something you don't often see in that kind of a film, particularly of that kind of era and genre, where they kind of humanize some of the characters, and you feel some genuine sympathy and for what's going on, and it's pretty well done for a movie for its time. I think it helps kind of elevate it a little bit more than that standard B movie kind of stuff you see out of a lot of those Golden Globus films.
Yeah. How about you guys?
I think the attack, that last attack on the plane to get control of the plane was probably one of my favorite parts. And the Lee Marvin bit where they were off radios and he had to signal them to stop the attack. I think that was a pretty cool scene as well. And again, I agree with Eric with the character building of the passengers, even some of the terrorists in the beginning of the film, where in the airport, the kid reaches for the Cabbage Patch Kid, and you see the family interact with each other and all that bit. I think that's probably my favorite bits in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't just tell people, well, these are terrorists or these are hostages and you have to feel bad for them. We have to care for them. We have to know why. You can't just universally in a movie care for all hostages. If you can make them seem like real people with real passions and loves and family, then yeah, okay, I don't want to see these individuals, harmed. And one of my favorite things in the movie was George Kennedy, because just standing up and taking the place of one of the hostages and just being what a priest is supposed to be, actually doing it instead of saying it. Holy men, they got a lot of flack sometimes for not living the word, like speaking the word a lot, but not actually walking the walk. And him doing that is awesome. And then to finish the movie off with him giving the last rites to Butch, and just how shaken up that the priest was. His hand is trembling and he's really broken up. That he seems like an awesome dude. So that's one of my favorite parts in the movie. And then just the almost supernatural Chuck Norris at the end during the reckoning, disappearing like a ghost. And then he's pretty stoic during the beatdown, and he comes close. This is another one of those subtle performance choices by Chuck. I mean, he could have been enraged and fire in the eyes, but he was keeping it pretty stoic with a hint of rage. It just seemed like he was kind of Spock-like. He was trying to keep his emotions in check while he was dissecting this guy, little by little. And I love how he came in there and annihilated him slowly and methodically. It wasn't like rage and screaming and you're going to pay for this, you piece of garbage. It was eerie, like how quiet and calm he was about destroying this guy. And then,
Sure.
blankly blowing him up with an exhaust rocket. Perfect.
It's so one-sided too. It's like they didn't want to give any sort of suspense as to whether or not he was going to win. It was like, no, Chuck it's a definitive victory. The other guy doesn't have a chance,
Which is kind of odd. Which is kind of odd for an '80s action movie, because most of the time it always climaxes with the hero and the main bad guy just duking it out for a little while.
Yeah. Would you call Chuck a Gary Stu, the male version of a Mary Stu in this movie? Because he doesn't get a scratch on him, does he?
No, I just call him Chuck Norris.
I guess he's his own category.
he's his own man. That is a good point, though, because he really doesn't. I mean, he really doesn't have even many lines in this film. I mean, he doesn't say a whole lot. It's like they meant for him just to kind of appear and and do what the audience I think wants to do, which is just eviscerate the terrorists.
I think instead of calling him Gary Stu or calling him Chuck Norris, you can call him Snake Eyes, because that's exactly what he is in this movie. He's the secret weapon. He's the A-bomb on the anthill, and he rolls in, and I mean, just like G.I. Joe Renegades. The team can take care of business, but when Major Scott McCoy comes in, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
He's the ace in the hole.
Yeah. When he arrives in his denim jacket, everybody watch
the Canadian tuxedo.
That is so funny. I that will stick with me.
It's interesting because he does wear the Canadian pin at one point, and he wears a Canadian tuxedo at the beginning. So I don't know. Maybe that's Chuck's little homage to Canada.
Yeah,
it's kind of like when Hannibal calls out for BA in a fight, and everybody just stops and looks at BA, and BA just wrecks everybody.
He's like his own Terminator.
Yeah.
Cool, my own Terminator.
Everybody just let him finish.
All right, so that's Delta Force commentary. That was a blast. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
And thanks, Pete, for joining us earlier. And I'm sure his internet is not going to be in a coma for much longer. But looking forward to more commentaries. Going to get back to some cartoon commentaries. Definitely need to do more Rambo. especially after watching Mega Force and Delta Force. We need to watch the animated version of these movies, and it's Rambo: Force of Freedom. We'll do some more of those. And more classic movies as well. So thanks a lot, everyone, for listening along. Hope you had fun, and until next time, Nerdmas Day.
Nerdmas Day.
Nerdmas Day. Thank you.